why do we still think we're two separate teams? I know we're talking about AI today. If we don't collaborate with workforce when it comes to our AI that we're bringing into operations, that could potentially create additional work, which then drives work for the workforce team. Understanding or coming to the realization that workforce and CX is not two separate teams anymore.
Mm.
It's one team that has to work cohesively in order for care operations to work.
We have a different entity that's entering the workforce, and that is AI. It's no longer just a human only workforce, it is humans and AI in the workforce. And so we have to measure that. We have to be able to manage that as well.
If it requires a transfer to the agent, there was a disruption or a breakdown that occurred. And so now
Mm.
do we begin to introduce a metric that says, did this live agent save the AI experience? And then does that like make us rethink about AI in the workspace to say live agents are always going to be necessary to be in the workspace in any industry because the AI will not be able to 100% create an environment where the member, the customer feels 100% served. Dump the junk drawer on what you know. Dump that drawer and rebuild it off of curiosity.
Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of Tipsy Thursdays. I am your show host, Juanita Coley, the contact center whisperer, also the CEO and founder of Solid Rock Consulting. And I'm super excited to welcome you guys back to another episode where we are talking all things hybrid workforce. How do you manage a hybrid? And when I say hybrid, I mean human plus AI workforce in this era. How do we do that? And what are we seeing, right? And so I am so excited to welcome and introduce to some of you and present to others the amazing, the big Patrice James. Patrice, thank you so much for being with us here on Tipsy Thursdays. You could be anywhere in the world, but you decided to come sit down and hang out with me on Tipsy Thursdays. So thank you.
Oh, thank you for having me.
I am so excited to have you here because, AI and a hybrid workforce is something that you and I talk about a lot and where the industry is headed. And so you guys are doing some amazing things over Evermore. And I'm so excited to get you on the show to just kind of pick your brain and get your tips for those that are tuning in and listening. Before I hop in with all of my questions, though, tell the audience a little bit more about yourself, your role, your title, what your day to day looks like.
I am the Associate Director of Care Operations with Evermore. I get the esteemed privilege to not only work alongside SRC at the helm of our workforce, but I also get an opportunity to lead the operations with our internal teams, decision making for care, as well as I get to collaborate with two amazing BPO vendors that do it well in this space to provide member care on an exceptional level. And I have a small niche in reporting and analytics where I get a chance to really understand how do we fully connect the member experience from end to end.
I absolutely love that. I love that. So, okay, rapid fire questions. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. This is your debut on Tipsy Thursday, so I'm excited. All right, the audience is in for a treat. So, the very first question I'm asking the audience is in the spirit of the show, right? What is one thing in CX, right, in customer experience or WFM? We have a lot of WFM leaders that join the call that still makes you tipsy, right? What's one of those challenges that you're like, why do we still do this? And why nobody figured this out yet? What's one of those things?
Yeah, Juanita, when I think about that question, the first thing that comes to mind is why do we still think we're two separate teams?
Mm.
We are one team. And if we don't get it right on one side, it has a direct impact on the other. And that
Mm.
is from all angles of operations. That is thinking about, I know we're talking about AI today. If we don't collaborate with workforce when it comes to our AI that we're bringing into operations, that could potentially create additional work, which then drives work for the workforce team. If workforce is planning for staffing and not considering the AI tool, we're going to be overstaffed operationally. And now we're impacting the agent experience. And so understanding or coming to the realization that workforce and CX is not two separate teams anymore.
Mm.
It's one team that has to work cohesively in order for care operations to work is one of those things that keep me tipsy.
Boop, boop. I love that. Like, that's a nugget. That is a nugget. And you know what? I think that is the first time I've ever heard anybody articulate that, hey, we are one team. We are one team, CX as well as so operations as well as workforce management. We're one team. We should be strategically aligned, which is, you know what? Now that you say that, it makes me think about like our health check, right? So here at SRC, we do a WFM health check, and it's not just the check of are you doing forecasting? Are you doing scheduling? Are you doing the tactical thing? Part of the health check is identifying how strategically aligned you are to operations, how aligned you are to the other parts of the business, right? And so I've never heard anybody articulate that way. And so I'm super excited, as you can see. Let's get to the second question. The second question, you ready?
I'm ready.
So my second question I have for you is, what's one transformation that you're leading right now?
Yeah, so it is finding ways to create workflows for agents that make their work easier. So oftentimes in
Mm,
the CX space, we talk a lot about the knowledge-based articles, and I love knowledge-based, but when you think about today's climate just in general life, we're getting things in bite size through social media. And so if I'm getting these little clips of pieces of information that helps me to be able to quickly digest and understand what's happening to make decisions, like we have to transform how we look at onboarding resources that we're putting in front of agents. They're engaging with social media, so we have to really replicate this experience that's happening with social media today into the workflows of our agents by
yeah.
giving guided workflows that give them the bare essentials of what they need to be able to navigate different processes. And so really looking at how do we streamline those workflows, whether that is new technology coming in, whether that's refining our current processes and tools that we have. But one of the things that I am deeply passionate about, because you want to be able to not only drive that speech proficiency, but make it so that it's easy for people to utilize and their days are easier. And so that's really what I'm focused on right now.
I love that. I love that specifically because we have a practice when it comes to education, and we call it micro learning. And it's not something that we made up, right? This is actually a real thing in the industry, right? Around micro learning, because people have short attention spans.
Yeah.
That's just what it is, right? With all this technology, one of the things that come with that is I can't hold a lot of information, and I need you to give it to me real quick and laser, and it needs to be concise and quick. And so what I love about what you said is replicating real life experiences. My people are on social, let's meet them where they at. And it may not be again on social, but it's replicating that type of experience, right? Giving them the guided workflow. So you're taking a concept that they're already familiar with. They're used to the scroll, right? They're used to consuming and digesting content in a way that is in a micro style. And so then that allows them to better retain the information, which then allows them to better serve the customer or member, whomever that may be, right? So I absolutely love that.
Yeah, I think one of the things that screams that importance to me is if we even just look at in our personal lives, we don't get the telephone book dropped off at our doors anymore. Oftentimes, people are reading on their Kindles. We don't have a lot of paperback, which I have paperback books, but it's not something that we pick up. And so, when you think about a knowledge base in the workspace, that is your paperback book. That is your telephone book that we used to receive. And so, knowing that that is, I won't say an archaic way, but a formal way of how we used to ingest information, we now have to even think beyond just the telephone book or paperback books, but how do I create an experience where it's still digital, is easy on the eyes, is bite-sized to your point, but then also infusing graphics, meeting
Yeah.
learners where they are. I'm a visual person. I love a good image. I like an audio clip. All of those things help to drive that transformation in what we're looking at for our tech stack for our agents.
I was reading something on social yesterday on LinkedIn, and someone was talking about a book they didn't particularly care for, and so I won't mention it on here, but they didn't particularly care for this book, and they said the reason that they didn't care for it was because they felt like it was over explained. It could be, like you took 30 minutes to say something that could have been said in 2 minutes. You're just saying the same thing over and over. You're over explaining to get some extra pages out on the book,
Yeah.
when I needed to learn whatever the concept was in 3 pages. You took 20 pages to talk about it. And so I wonder how much of that we do in the contact center space with agents, and how that translates to retention and customer experience. Are you a business owner or a CX leader running a center without a dedicated WFM team? Well, maybe you may have one person on the ops side covering the whole function. Or maybe your WFM team actually sits inside of your BPO, but not on your side. And that's not on you, it's a structural gap. But it means you're making calls and strategic plays, likely missing service level or overstaffed and bleeding budget without anyone dedicated to reading your data, turning it into insights that align with your CX strategy. So we're doing something about it. 100 free data analysis and strategic workforce assessments where we look at your phone data, your forecasts, your schedules, and intraday performance. And in 72 hours, we hand you back real answers, not a pitch deck, just the insight that a dedicated WFM leader would normally give you. I did this for a client named Sabina. She was running 3 contact centers operating at a 59% service level. And within 60 days of her data insights, we moved her from a 59% service level to an 82% service level. And what mattered most is that she got her evenings back. She got her time back. She stopped doubting her data, and she actually had a strategy that aligned to her CX strategy. This is completely free. We're doing it for 100 leaders between now and September 15th. So if you are a CX leader and you're running a center between 50 to 5,000 employees, you have your phone data, you don't have a WFM team, I highly recommend that you take your data, turn it into insights, and you apply below and let us help you. See you soon. So one of the other questions I have for you is from your perspective, you can't have a conversation today without talking about AI because it's such a big part of how we're dynamically shifting as people, our work, all the different things. And so from your perspective, how is work AI redesigning work and the workplace?
Yeah. So I think the first thing that for me when I think about AI is the redistribution of work. So the
Mm,
work's still going to have to get done. It just matters who's doing the work. And so when you think about, we talked a little bit about the knowledge base and we talked about how we're putting things in front of agents in a very intentional way. The more complex things that require human intervention, in my opinion, should sit in the hands of the agents. The things that we would consider mundane or routine, those are the things I believe most organizations are wanting to bring AI in to solve for. But I want to like think beyond like that because I think that's often like the conversation that we talk about when we think about bringing AI into space. And I think the redesign for me is saying like we have to reevaluate the metrics and how we look at those metrics.
you
So
better come on here.
you think about like in the care space, like you have your, we'll call them top 5 KPIs. You're looking at transfers, CSAT, FCR, so first call resolution, AHT, hold time, etc. Right? That's your standard stack, and those have worked for years. But as we bring AI in, those become, in my opinion, secondary metrics. Now we have to measure if there is an intervention in between your member or your customer calling, they're going to interact with AI before they get to the agent. Now we have to talk about like what's the success rate of the agent from the AI into the live agent, and then how well is the live agent able to recover service based on what happened with the AI agent? Because like our expectation would be introducing the AI agent, it should be solving the problem. But if it requires a transfer to the agent, there was a disruption or a breakdown that occurred. And so now
Mm.
do we begin to introduce a metric that says, did this live agent save the AI experience? And then does that like make us rethink about AI in the workspace to say, live agents are always going to be necessary to be in the workspace in any industry because the AI will not be able to 100% create an environment where the customer feels 100% served. So I think those are the things that I'm thinking about. These are new KPIs, things we haven't thought about, things that may not even be documented. We're going to put that on record that agent save rate is something new coming into the care space that I think should be considered.
Listen, I'm trying so hard. I'm trying my hardest not to interrupt, right? I can't even talk. You know what I'm saying? You got me so excited. I'm trying so hard not to interrupt because what everything you just said, chef's kiss, right? Chef's kiss. Absolutely. We've been talking about this for some time about like, oh, AI is going to handle the routine and mundane things and dot, dot, dot. Agents are, going to handle the more complex things. And I think even as AI gets even better, it's going to handle some complex things, right? So
Yeah.
handling the mundane and the repetitive things should not be the bar for your AI. Let's just put that out there. But then second to that, primary to that really is the point that you brought up, right? Around the metrics are shifting. So the metrics that y'all always have looked at and measured success by is shifting. And if you don't get ahead of that curve to start to identify, hey, service level may not be the KPI, AHT may not be the KPI, these FCR, certain things may not be the KPIs anymore that we need to look at as a primary source, or we need to have split KPIs. We need to have KPIs for humans and we need to have KPIs for our AI because I think that is critical and it is going to shift and it's going to change how we think about how we're servicing care, right? How our care is administered because we have a different entity that's entering the workforce, right? And that is AI. Is no longer just a human only workforce. It is AI and or humans and AI in the workforce. And so we have to measure that. We have to be able to manage that as well. I love what you said about redistributing the work, right? Because that's what's actually happening. And I say this all the time that AI does not eliminate work. AI just redistributes the work. If I needed a password reset yesterday, guess what I'm gonna need tomorrow? A
Yep.
password reset, right? That need doesn't go away. Now, AI may be able to do it for me and I may not need to talk to somebody, but the work still exists. Who or what does the work is what we then have to look at. And then the other thing I think when we think about how AI redesigns work in the workplace is what we have to be acutely aware of, and I think this is getting missed in a lot of the hype around AI, is the new work types that AI is creating, right? That gets missed. I'm working with a customer now that has AI, and AI is working exceptionally well for them. This is not to say AI is not working for them, but in this instance, AI is creating a new work queue or work type in the form of tickets that they didn't have this before. And so it's like, oh, okay, do we need to hire for this new type of work? That wasn't a forethought going into the equation of onboarding AI.
Yes, I couldn't agree more with you, Juanita. I think oftentimes, like we have this, again, just thinking about like the way the business and the industry has always been, like you have this stack of roles that just sit in the space. As AI is evolving, even the roles that people play in the industry will look different. It's gonna look, you might be a director of AI and your
Huh? I
response.
keep saying it. I keep saying that. That is that it's not coming. It is here. Organizations that are going to lead the pack. This is what they're thinking about. They're thinking about how do I, like we have dashboards for our customers that are further on their AI journey, and as far as AI being in the workforce, where we can see the contribution and the distribution of work that went to AI, and we can see the contribution and the performance of work that went to humans. And so instead of saying, oh, the manager for AI sits in IT, right, where they're concerned about configuration, they're concerned about a different thing. No, we need a director of AI. Right. So we have our director of care who's might be primarily managing the people. And then we have a director of AI that's managing the AI and AI reports up to them.
Yep.
Like so again, I know that people think that this is like far off, but this is where we at. And this is
Yeah,
what matters.
absolutely. Agreed.
What is, because I'll talk to you forever. My last question before my last question. I always say my last question, but I didn't have another question. My last question before my last question is what's one piece of advice you would give to another leader that is facing a human plus AI workforce? And they're like, okay, AI's coming into the workforce, but I don't really get to see the AI piece. I'm still managing the human only workforce. What would be your one piece of advice you would give them?
The first thing I would say is dump the junk drawer on what you know. Everybody has
Mm.
one drawer in their kitchen that just collects everything, all the information, anything that you could think of, it holds it. Dump that drawer and rebuild it off of curiosity.
Mm.
I think that the AI and the human experience, they're going to become one as we begin to explore sentiment analysis and how we can train the AI to create a human-like experience. And so in order for us to even prepare for that, we got to dump the clutter. We got to dump what we've always known, reorganize, and really get to that clarity of saying, what could this be? And knowing AI is only learning what we're giving. And so we're saying, what could this be? We can make it whatever we want it to be. So that's what I would give any leader that is bringing AI and the human experience into their workforce. And I'm doing it and I'm feeling great about it. Just reimagining it and starting something fresh.
I absolutely love that. Well, before I let you go, if the people want to reach out to you, where can they find you? What's next for you? What are you most excited about? And again, where can people find you if they're like, I got to touch base with that Miss James?
Yes, so you can find me on LinkedIn. My name is Patrice James. You'll see from career-wise, I have spent time with Walmart and at Evermore. So if you're looking for multiple Patrice James, look for me there. Also, if for any reason you ever need to reach out to me directly, you are able to find me on social media under Patrice James as well. So please don't be a stranger. Reach out. Love to have these conversations. Love to connect and talk all things AI, workforce, and care experience.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to be with me today. Again, you could be anywhere in the world and you decided to come hang out with me on Tipsy Thursday.
Awesome. Thank you, Juanita.
Absolutely. Well, guys, you heard it here first. I told y'all Patrice was going to come in here and drop these nuggets. I think my absolute favorite one, well, I can't pick one. I can't pick one, but some of the highlights. You see how I did that? Some of the highlights for me are when she talked about not only the AI and the human workforce about like, oh, AI can handle these simple, mundane, and routine things, and humans are handling the more complex things. But when she leaned into how the metrics are going to change and how we need to be looking at that, that's something that you don't hear people talk about a lot. And if you hear them talk about it, you hear them talk about it from a surface level, but they're not starting to implement it. And so this is something that Patrice is implementing or thinking about, like, how do we think about the metrics differently? Absolutely love that, chef's kiss. And then lastly, I think my other big highlight was dumping the junk drawer, because we all have that. We know exactly what she's talking about that kitchen drawer that got everything in it that you ain't looked at in 10 years, but it's still taking up and occupying space. And in this AI era, you don't have space for things to just be taking up space that is forever. Dump that stuff out, pick out what you need to use, right? Oh, I know the history of this. I know why this works like this. That's very valuable, right? Feed that back into now AI and say, how do I best leverage my agents? How do I best member experience to improve, right? All those different things I think is going to be critical and important as we push forward. And again, the leaders that are leaning in now, when we're thinking about this hybrid, again, when I say hybrid, I'm talking about human plus AI workforce. The leaders that lean in now are going to be the leaders that lead tomorrow. So, without further ado, you already know what to do. Until next time, go be great and let's make impact. Thank you guys for tuning in. Bye.